Do you want less SG or more Paul? Yes, please. We're going to be taking a look at the Gibson Custom Shop inspired Epiphone 61 Les Paul. Yes, it's a Les Paul. We'll tell you why. You're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos. If you want to support the channel, visit our spring store and buy some stuff. And if you want to check out our podcast, you can do so now with new episodes at the Fretboard Confessional, wherever you get your podcasts. The question, Cooper, today is a Les Paul by any other name sound just as sweet?
No.
No. Come on, Shakespeare would say, yes, a rose by any other name. But today we are looking at something similar to that. This is the Epiphone, inspired by Gibson Custom Shop, 61 Les Paul SG Standard. And for those who don't know in guitar lore, yes, that's what happened. The venerable, very famous, sought-after, historical Les Paul went out of production as we know it. So it was introduced in the 1950s, it continued on, and it fell out of popularity and was replaced in 1961 with this new Les Paul guitar, which we now know today as the SG.
It's a very solid guitar.
It's a solid guitar. That's what SG stands for. And of course, to bury the lead, the Les Paul, as we know it, was replaced by this, and that was very short-lived. Yeah. Do you know what brought back the popularity of the Les Paul after it was discontinued due to poor sales?
Was it the players that adopted it?
It was Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah, suddenly people saw this young Brit playing a Les Paul and were like,
smashed through a Marshall amp, just blaring.
I want that guitar. And so the Les Paul came back, and when it did, this was redubbed the SG for solid guitar. But for 1961, this was the Les Paul. And of course, Gibson has...
That's seen on the truss rod.
That's what it says on the truss rod. So see, I'm not lying. So Gibson has done this in the Gibson line, of course. There are custom shop versions and non-custom shop versions of the 61 that are very, very popular. So in what they've been doing in Epiphone, they're doing these inspired by things. This particular one was a collab with the custom shop.
Yep. And we saw that with the 59 Les Pauls, and I think it was the Dark Cherry Burst and just Dark Burst or something like that. But yeah, those were super popular. These are the first ones of the SGs that we've gotten in. Yeah, it's cool.
So let's talk about some of the specs. So it's the typical SG. The body with that, sharp horn, double cutaway design has historical contours. So the edges that have been contoured are true to the 61 spec. You've got your typical setup with a three-way toggle control for your pickups, and then two volume, two-tone, neatly packed in the bottom corner of the guitar. Typically I don't like that, but on an SG, I just set it at 10. It's one of the few guitars I'm like, yeah, set it, forget it. We're going to rock out with this guitar. Yeah. You've got incredible access up the neck, as has always been the case with the SG. You can get all the way up there to that 21st fret. And it is a pretty fast-playing Indian Laurel fretboard with the parallelogram inlays.
And we talk a lot on the channel about if you were to take a Squire, switch out the pickups. If you were to take an Epiphone, switch out the pickups. This is kind of an example of that.
Good point, yeah.
Extent. Yeah.
So you've got your typical hardware, stop, bar, tailpiece, tunematic bridge, and two burst bucker pickups that are Gibson USA burst bucker pickups in this guitar. So that's kind of the point that Cooper's making is, that's the question. If I buy a cheap guitar and I put, pickups in it, does it sound just as good? Arguably, yeah, it will probably sound as good. This is a two-piece mahogany body, mahogany neck. The recipe is there. The same humbuckers are there. Now, the rest of the hardware is not going to be the same. Yeah. The tuners, while they are vintage-style tuners, they are not going to be the same that you'd see on a U.S. guitar. Of course, it's not a rosewood fretboard, as we already talked about. The rest of the hardware, it does have CTS pots, but it's little switch gears, little things that I pick up on, like the tunematic bridge that just feel a little bit different. The knobs feel a little bit different. But a lot of it's there. It does come with a case, which I think is a great add-on. It's under $1,000. So, I think it's what, $899?
I think so, yeah.
You get this guitar and either this Alpine White or Cherry with all of the U.S. electronics, and a case. It's a good value.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like an SG?
Yeah, I do think so. If you bought like a normal Epiphone standard SG and you put burst buckers in it and you got yourself a case that's very, very similar to the ones that come with the normal 61s, I think you'd be above that $899 price point. So it's a cool value. Even the normal SG standards from Gibson now do not come with a hard case. They come with a bag. So that alone, a couple $100 maybe. These definitely a few $100. So
to get this with a Gibson name on the headstock and the Gibson case would be a 61 reissue, which is $24.99,
something like that. It's definitely above 2,000.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good value. And I mean, the other thing that I think is interesting, Gibson put out the faded collection with the satin finishes. There is the 61 Maestro faded SG, and this is satin
very
finish.
similar.
It's very similar. So I think that's the interesting sort of swap right there. Do you go with the Gibson one that's satin, that's cheaper, a little bit cheaper than the normal 61 standard Gibson, or do you go with an Epiphone that's got really nice pickups and a nice hard shell case, also satin? Nice value proposition for this one, I think.
And a lot of times it comes down to the sound. So let's take a listen to the demo, and so you can see for yourself. Does it sound like a Les Paul SG? Ah, gotcha. Well, so there you have it. It does indeed sound like an SG or Les Paul, whatever you want to call it. So what do you think of it playability and sound?
You know, SG is always extremely easy to play, almost to the point where it becomes hard to play because it's so light and there's so much access that I get a little stressed out sometimes. But it's it's really made to go crazy. It's thin neck, very comfortable. I set the amp to where it was not clean, not dirty. It was right in between, and I did a little volume contouring at the start, turned it down a bit so it got clean, and then I think just pushing high volume through an amplifier as a Blues Junior, like we always play on, the pickups just sound great. I mean, it's a nice, thick, warm tone that then when you get to the bridge, it cuts through, and it's everything you want from an SG. So I dig it. I think it's cool.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a good value. We've talked about that compared to what you can get from either Epiphone or Gibson by adding on cases, swapping out pickups, that kind of thing. There are two things that I would do to this guitar. Now, again, you can get this in the aged cherry or the aged alpine white. They call it aged. I have a contention with that. I don't think that's a great descriptor of the finish. It's also not quite like the faded satin because there is definitely a pore filler, so it's smoother than that. But this is really like a satin finish. And if there's a complaint I have on this guitar, it's the finish is a little rougher feeling than I would like. You can, I don't know if you can, but it's a rougher feeling. I also don't like the pickguard. It's like a 5-layer pickguard on this guitar.
Very thick pickguard.
So, you know, 2 things I would do in this guitar. Buy it. You've got all the great hardware. Get a setup. Have it buffed, you know, and change out the pickguard. And you got a really, really solid guitar. I think everything else
truly
is great. So, so that's my 2 cents on it. If you want to get this and really make it a huge value for, you know, just maybe $150, $200 more, whatever that would cost you if you took it someplace, it would compete with anything out there as far as a really solid SG. So that's my thoughts on it.
Really solid guitar.
A solid guitar.
Les Paul.
From Les Paul, yeah. Do you know Les Paul didn't like the SGs?
Really?
Yeah.
So Mary Ford played the white one, right?
Well, they both played during that period of time. And he complained about hitting, like, I'd love to be so virtuosic that you're so fast in your runs that you hit your hand on the horn of the guitar.
It hurts. Yeah, I mean, it would be so cool if Epiphone put out the 3 pickup, you know, like the real deal. I think that'd be a home run as well. But this one, for now, I think it competes with that 59 Les Paul. They're both really cool options that it's harder and harder to find something less than $1,000.
Yes.
It's like just a good electric guitar. So, yeah, I think it's cool.
Absolutely. So if you're interested in this guitar or anything else from Gibson or Epiphone, you can go to our website, which is
alamomusic.com.
There you go. You can check out everything we have to offer there. You can also chat live with someone on our website, get any help you need, photos, heck, even pay for it right through chat. We let you do all that stuff because we're all about making you have a great experience with convenience and a great selection of fantastic guitars. If you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe, you turn on notifications, you like our videos, and remember at the end of the day, whether you're in 1961 or the present, the very best guitar in the world is the one that you are playing. So keep playing, keep coming back for more. We'll see you next time.